Hi, everyone. I'm Tim Ogden, president of the BBS Foundation, and I just wanted to welcome you to this Madison Regional Gathering. I'm really glad that you're there. Sorry that I can't be there this year. The idea behind these regional gatherings, which we've held so far in Charlotte and Philadelphia in the last couple of weeks, and will in a few weeks in Oklahoma City and in September in Orlando, we're going to do a virtual one in Canada, is different than our usual conferences, the conferences that we've had in the past. First of all, it's an opportunity to be with people who you don't have to explain anything to, who you don't have to spell Barney Beetle for. But the main point is to help BBS families connect with other families that are nearby, to make it easier to have someone to reach out to ask a question to get ideas from. So that's what I'm hoping that each of you walks away with from today. I know many of you have known each other for years, and you're really a model for the value of having people nearby to talk to who know some of the details about what happens when so many of the services that BBS families need to access are state or local based. So much of the care, the medical care, is state or local based. To be able to reach out to people that you know in your own area. So we're hoping to really strengthen those connections with the regional conferences. I also want to take the opportunity, since you're all together, to share with you what's been happening at the foundation in the last year, what we're planning for the next year, and what's going on in the BBS world generally. And so let me break that into a few categories. First of all, one of our priorities for the foundation right now is really improving connections within the BBS family, the global BBS family, and the national BBS family, and the local BBS family. These regional conferences are part of that, but we've also been investing a lot in the back end in our own technology infrastructure to make it a lot easier for us to have some information about the different people who are connected to the BBS Foundation. Knowing something about genes and locations and ages and needs, recommendations of medical professionals or services, things that make it easier for us to answer questions that come in directly to us and connect people together. And one of the things you'll be seeing over the course of the rest of the year is we finally completed a lot of that work, and we're going to be reaching out with some surveys to help us gather data to be able to better serve the community. Part of that effort is we're hiring, we've already started and are continuing to hire some regional coordinators in a variety of places around the country, whose job it is to follow up with people in their own region, to communicate with people in their own region on a regular basis so that we keep that information updated, we have a sense of what's happening, and it is easier to make connections. We're also working hard at our global connections. Some of you may know over the last couple of years, we've created an organization called BBS International to bring together various BBS organizations in countries like the UK, France, the Netherlands, Germany, Denmark, Norway, Italy, to help us work together and know what other people are doing so that our efforts can support each other. We're also planning a full gathering. I won't call it a national gathering because it's US plus Canada plus people from all over the world typically come to these, for the summer of 2024, back to the things we were doing every 2 years up to 2018, and that we had planned for 2020 before getting knocked offline. So summer 2024 is the time we're going to get back to that. And we're looking for a location right now, a location that's very much like what we had in Salt Lake City back in 2018. A place where people can get easily to an airport, a place where people can get from that airport to the venue without necessarily renting a car or spending a lot of money, a place that has both a hotel and a conference venue and some activities in the immediate area. So we're in the process right now of trying to identify some locations like that, and we'll keep you apprised of that over the course of the fall and into the winter, when we'll make a final decision about when and where exactly that will be. Another thing we're focused on is improving care for people with BBS. And I know that all of you there probably have already been talking about the situation in the Marshfield Center of Excellence, both before this conference and probably as you gathered, since I know many of you have been able to attend the Center of Excellence. And I just wanted to share a little bit from the perspective of the foundation on that and where we go from there. So I want to be clear that the foundation has never directly financially supported the Center of Excellence. And we made that decision because so much of the total BBS family population around the country couldn't go to the Center of Excellence. And as well, that the people who were attending were paying their way there via insurance. And so we didn't feel like that was the best use of funds that we had raised. Nonetheless, when the decision to lay off Sonia Suda was made, we did reach out and express our dismay to the leadership of Marshfield. I told them specifically that if they had been looking for a way to erode trust in the BBS community, they could not have found a better one than laying off Sonia. But as I'm sure all of you know and have surmised, Marshfield is making its decisions based on the overall health system. And without Dr. Hawes there, there isn't nearly the level of commitment to the BBS community that was there when he was there. I don't think Marshfield is a bad place because of that. The fact is, this is the reality everywhere. Marshfield is not any different from any other health system in the United States in terms of what drives its decisions and how it has to make those decisions, and the role that money plays in those decisions. We are continuing to invest in Cribs, which is hosted at the Marshfield Clinic. We are the primary, far and away, the vast majority of the money for Cribs comes from money we raise from the foundation. And I'm pleased to say that that is not affected by the decisions around the Center of Excellence, and that Cribs has continued to make tremendous progress. I'm sure Jeremy will be sharing with you, but there's a major milestone that Cribs just reached that we're super excited about. But we're also working in conjunction with Rhythm on trying to build up more places where families with BBS can get informed and expert care. So Marshfield has, Rhythm has launched an effort of various medical care providers that they know have an interest in BBS, networking together to establish better connections and learn from each other. And Marshfield and Jeremy are a part of that group, as well as doctors from 7 or 8 different healthcare systems around the country. We've also worked with a private foundation who has committed a $1 million grant conditional on moving forward with an investment in BBS care. Right now, we're in conversations with the Children's Hospital Philadelphia around that, and particularly because the Children's Hospital Philadelphia is a leader in care like this and sets an agenda, and many organizations look to Children's Hospital Philadelphia as the organization to learn from. And so we're hopeful that we can make some progress there in advancing some additional mini centers of excellence around BBS in a variety of different places around the country. On the research side, there are 2 big things happening there that you did hear about last summer if you attended some of our conferences, and I wanted to give you an update on those. And both related to gene therapy, a gene therapy for BBS1, an organization led by Dr. Phil Beals, who a name I know many of you will recognize, and a gene therapy for BBS10, work that's happening led by Dr. Arlene Drack at the University of Iowa. So in Iowa, one of the things they're working on right now, and many of you may have seen this via announcements from Cribs or in other places, they've launched a natural history study in support of moving that BBS10 gene therapy work towards clinical trials. And what a natural history study does is it establishes a rate of degeneration necessary for a measurement of the effectiveness and the safety of a gene therapy. So when you're talking about a disease that's not degenerative, it's pretty easy to tell whether something is working. Does the situation get better? Is your easy measure. In BBS, where retinal degeneration is progressive, you have to have a sense of how rapidly degeneration happens in the absence of treatment so that you can tell whether the treatment is, one, not doing any harm, or B, doing good simply by slowing the rate of degeneration. And so that's what the natural history study is doing, is it's establishing with a limited number of patients, what does a normal process degeneration look like? And that gives a baseline to compare a first round of clinical trials against. You'll hear a little bit more about this later in a video I recorded with Ben Shaverman from the Foundation Fighting Blindness about the clinical trials process. But basically, after this natural history study, then you have the data to file for a phase 1 trial. And a phase 1 clinical trial is primarily focused on safety to make sure that the investigation, the gene therapy isn't doing any harm. And then if you can show that it's not doing any harm, it's not accelerating degeneration, or it's not causing other problems, then you move on to a phase 2 and 3 trial, which is more focused on measuring effectiveness. On the BBS 1 side, Dr. Phil Beals started a company called Exovia with investment from venture capital to help accelerate the development of BBS 1. I don't have a lot of details on how that's progressing. It's not progressing quite as fast as the work at Iowa, but in part because it is being funded commercially rather than philanthropically. There's less information that's available there. We'll be following up regularly with Dr. Beals and the team at Exovia to make sure that we can keep you apprised of progress there. I mentioned a moment ago also that there's a video that you'll be watching today with the Foundation Fighting Blindness, because BBS 1 and 10 are the most common genes in BBS, but by no means are they the only genes. You may have noticed I've got my BBS Global Day shirt on, the 27 plus genes. It's now 28 plus genes. We'll be updating the t-shirt for this year's BBS Global Day. But there are a lot of people out there with BBS genes that aren't 1 in 10 that gene therapy isn't going to help. And so we are very interested in keeping track of and finding ways that we can support research to deal with retinal degeneration that is gene agnostic, meaning it doesn't matter what gene you have, whether it's a BBS gene or whether it's an LCA gene or whether it's some other cause of retinal degeneration. And so you'll hear more about FFB's work there, and we're continuing in conversation with the Foundation Fighting Blindness to make sure that we can be connected to that and support that work. Finally, I'll note that we're a little over a month away from BBS Global Day 2024. I mentioned the shirt a moment ago and new versions of that shirt. That'll be September 23rd this year. And this is a day that we've established with those international organizations that I've mentioned before to help draw awareness to Bardet-Biedl syndrome around the world. It's a great opportunity to encourage friends and family to buy a t-shirt, to make a donation to the foundation in support of our work connecting families and advancing care and advancing research. Everything that we do at the foundation is dependent on fundraising. BBS is an ultra rare disease. And if you're unfamiliar with this, the definition of a rare disease is 1 in 2,000 people. BBS affects about 1 in 200,000 people. So it's 100 times more rare than rare. And so as we make progress, that's dependent on people throughout the community coming together to advance all of these efforts together. We need everybody on the team and pulling together if we're going to make progress. And so we're deeply grateful for a fundraiser that happened a few months ago up in Wisconsin, Birdies for BBS, that was very, very successful in raising funds. We have the Rocky Ride coming up in October here in this area, Cruisin' for Emmy, which is a classic car show in Maryland that launched last year that's been very successful. And so we're looking forward to supporting anybody that we can, but every bit matters. And BBS Global Day on September 23rd is a great way to support the foundation and advancing care connections and research. With that, I'll wrap up and I'll let you get back to the point of this conference, which is connecting with people who are there together from the upper Midwest region, getting to know each other, learning more about each other, and supporting each other. Again, sorry I couldn't be with you. Can't wait to get a group picture of everybody there and to hear how things went. Take care, everyone.